Doesn't matter how good things were going into it. That last race always feels different than a normal race.
Narrow helicopter. My feet were out one side and my head out the other. Remember a lot of air and sky, and I thought I was going to heaven.
Welcome to a world of motorsports with two proteges who exhibit chaotic yet masterful racing skills. They dominated two generations, leading to rumors that existed and prevailed for years in their careers. This is the story of Tony Stewart and Dale Earnhardt's supposed beef. What caused this rift between the duo? Don't go anywhere as we look into their chaotic stories.
The feud. Even from a young age, Dale Earnhardt was a pure talented stock car racer. His father, Ralph Earnhardt, was one of the best short-track drivers in North Carolina in the 60s. Being born in that era and environment made Dale fall in love with stock car racing. His innate skills were first discovered when he was 12. Young Dale secretly drove his father's car in one of his races and almost won the race against his father's rivals. Astonished and shocked by his son's talent, Ralph decided to train his son to continue his legacy. In less than 10 years, Dale had already been racing against his father in competitions. Ralph knew the dangers and prices racers often had to pay, so he tried to discourage Dale from pursuing racing as a career. But Dale was too deep in skills and talent, and also in the determination to conquer the oval tracks. Dale dropped out of high school to pursue his dreams full-time. Seeing his resolve, Ralph once again trained him, but he was very hard on Dale, more strict with his training, as though to ensure that Dale was always disciplined enough to be careful on the track no matter what. Throughout the time he trained him, Dale became more grounded in his skills. Although his skills seemed aggressive, they always paved the way for him on the tracks. Ralph soon had a heart attack and eventually passed away. His death was hard for Dale, as he looked up to his father and always wanted to prove himself. But with his father's death, it felt as though Ralph could not see what Dale could achieve. Nonetheless, Dale continued to soar. He turned the pain and grief of his father's death and unresolved accomplishments into sheer grit, and in no time he began to dominate the tracks. His aggressive yet skillful racing methods earned him the name the Intimidator. He possessed authentic skills and was never one to compromise. Hence, he earned prestige and respect on the tracks and gained many fans and supporters from his audience. Although he was called the Intimidator and always won every race or had the upper hand on the tracks, many racers often looked up to him. Tony Stewart was one of those racers. Tony, like Dale, was a protege. His methods were quite similar to Dale's, but new. Tony always looked up to Dale, yet he was never scared or intimidated to challenge him on the tracks. And by 29 years old, he was already recognized by Dale. In the 1999 Gatorade Twin 125s Series competition, where he started his NASCAR Cup career, he showed pure courage by engaging in a battle against Dale for the lead during the last laps. Although Dale came out on top, Tony impressed not only the audience, but also Dale himself with his performance. Dale discovered his talent and gave him some advice on racing. This advice was like acts of mentorship for him, as it came from someone he looked up to and respected. Dale and Tony were not from the same generation, but they equally became proteges and dominants in their respective times. Dale was from a generation that was the golden age of NASCAR. His racing skills were performances to behold. On the other hand, Tony was from the new generation of NASCAR, with new advances and transformation of methods from old to new. His racing skills had their own style, incorporated with Dale's style and methods. These formed a new skill set and method to dominate the tracks. At the time, he was often called Dale's protege and was mostly rumored to carry on Dale's legacy. Tony agreed that Dale set the foundation and dazzled the audience with his performances and skills. He picked some style and skills from these performances to incorporate into his methods and tactics. These can be considered a way to continue Dale's legacy, but it wasn't a definition of himself. Dale's influence was one thing that touched every racer back then. Being at the pinnacle in that golden age paved the way for other racers to dominate the new age. So being proteges from different generations, yet competing head-on and fiercely in every competition, Tony and Dale became rivals. Their competitions were ones every spectator looked forward to. With similar styles that were always imbued with aggressiveness, the duo always had fierce battles on the tracks. Soon, they were rumored to be rivals professionally and enemies off the track. But does being competitors equal animosity towards each other? Let's find out. Speculations that led to true events. More often than not, Dale and Tony were rumored to be mentors and proteges. However, neither of them officially stated the matter. Instead, their respect for each other was evident, from shared advice to fair yet fierce battles on the tracks. This shows that they acknowledge each other's strengths and skills and compete with authenticity, showing respect for each other. However, people will always speculate when they cannot fathom or understand what they know little about. Tony and Dale were never in a formal feud. However, they were rivals. Their battles could be misunderstood because of their racing styles, never to compromise, no matter what, and being aggressive on the tracks. Therefore, their relationship was always misunderstood and rumored to have aggressive arguments between them off the tracks. But that was never the case. Their relationship was merely professional, with deep respect for each other's skills. Tony adhered to Dale's advice, which he incorporated into his style, dominating his tracks and generation. Stewart spent most of his rookie season wowing people, as his car was often in the top 5. With his NASCAR Cup career beginning with a bang, he won a pair of pole positions at short tracks. He set a series record for wins by a rookie with 3, Richmond, Phoenix, and Homestead, surpassing Davey Allison's record set in 1987. He finished his first Cup season with 3 wins, 12 top 5s, 21 top 10s, 2 poles, and only 1 DNF. He also led a 1,226 laps with a 10.26 average finish and a 4th place finish in the point standings, making it the highest points finish by a rookie in the modern era, and only bested by James Hilton, who finished 2nd as a first-timer in 1966. Not surprisingly, he ran away with the Winston Cup Rookie of the Year award. Tony was already a talented racer with innate racing skills in his own right, like Dale. However, Tony's incorporation of Dale's prowess in racing linked them to each other. Hence, their race battles were between 2 rivals trying to dominate the tracks. One embellished with skills from the Golden Age, and the other exhibiting these Golden Age skills but with touches of New Age and modernity, somehow aroused speculations of different kinds and forms. Additionally, an incident increased this speculation. In one of these fierce racing battles, Stewart got off to a scary start for the 2021 season. During the Daytona 500, he was involved in an 18-car crash on lap 173. The crash began on the back straightaway and also collected Bobby Labonte and his brother Terry, Rusty Wallace, Steve Park, Jason Leffler, Jerry Nadeau, Buckshot Jones, Andy Houston, Ward Burton, Mark Martin, as well as several other racers on the same track. Still, Stewart took the worst of it, as his car turned backward after being hit by Ward Burton. This pushed over Robbie Gordon, flipped twice mid-air, hooked Bobby Labonte's hood, and stopped in the infield. Stewart was transported to Halifax Medical Center after complaints of discomfort in his shoulder. His crash was greatly overshadowed by Dale Earnhardt's fatal crash on the last lap. Stewart recovered to win 3 more races at Richmond, in Finian, and Bristol. And, as he had done before, he ran near the front most of the season. However, his unofficial mentor and rival was no more. At first, when he was in the hospital, he was brought into the same room Dale was in, but unconscious and in a bad state. Before then, Tony was on his hospital bed thinking of the bad day he was having. But when he saw Dale's state, he knew his day wasn't bad at all compared to what Dale was going through. During the Daytona 500 at Daytona International Speedway on February 18, 2001, Earnhardt was killed in a 3-car crash on the final lap of the race. This was the same competition and track accident that Tony was injured from. Dale collided with Ken Schroeder after making small contact with Sterling Marlin and hit the outside wall head-on. He had been blocking Schroeder outside and Marlin inside at the time of the crash. Earnhardt's and Schroeder's cars slid off the track's asphalt, banking into the infield grass inside Turn 4. Seconds later, his driver Michael Waltrip won the race, with Waltrip's teammate and Earnhardt's son, Dale Earnhardt Jr., finishing second. However, Dale was pronounced dead at the Halifax Medical Center at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. aged 49 years old. NASCAR President Mike Helton confirmed Earnhardt's death in a statement to the press. An autopsy conducted the following day concluded that Dale sustained a fatal basilar skull fracture. 4 days later, on February 22nd, public funeral services for Dale were held at the Calvary Church in Charlotte, North Carolina. Dale's accident started a new revolution in stock car racing safety precautions. Losing a formidable rival was hard for Tony, but afterwards, another rival, Dale Earnhardt Jr., came into the picture. With the existing controversy between the Stewarts and Earnhardt, everything just started actualizing. Like his father, Dale Jr. was a talented racer. He joined Earnhardt Incorporated and took up racing. He won second place in the 2001 Daytona 500, the race that took his father's life and injured Tony Stewart. Then he emerged as a formidable rival to Tony. Likewise, the years prior, Dale Jr. was always against Tony on the tracks. Although they shared some history owing to Dale Jr.'s father and Tony's speculations, it was never a rivaling situation. However, he became Tony's rival. With minimum sentiments like it was between Tony and Dale Sr., their rivalry bore more animosity than professional respect, as the duo could never have a decent conversation without plunging into heated arguments. Their rivalry and animosity continued more during Dale Jr.'s early racing career, where he saw Tony as a torn and was eager to race him. During their race in 1988, the two NASCAR drivers had a heated race at Pikes Peak International Raceway. They heatedly argued when they were called into the NASCAR hauler. However, they later reconciled a few weeks later in Milwaukee when Tony walked up to him and made a peace-offering gesture of a handshake towards Dale Jr., explaining that he had no beef with him and hoped to be friends with him if Dale Jr. wished so too. During one of his podcasts, Dale recalled that he would never have taken such a bold step, so he respects Tony's demeanor and thinks of Tony as a champion. The advent of stock car racing, protege for a new era, Anthony Wayne Stewart was born on the 20th of May, 1971. He began his racing career in go-karting at a young age of 9 years old. Within a year, he won his first championship. Growing up, he was heavily influenced by his father. From a young age, he was successful and won several championships and competitions. Having competed in several competitions and earned a name in his category, he was awarded USAC Rookie of the Year. 3 years later, he won the USAC National Midget Series Championship and USAC Silver Crown Series Championship in 1995. Stewart became the first driver to win USAC's version of the Triple Crown, earning championships in all three of USAC's major divisions: National Midget, Sprint, and Silver Crown. The year's highlights were his winning the HUT 104 Crown Nationals. With the advent of the Indy Racing League, which intended to provide opportunities for grassroots racers, Tony found his way into IndyCar racing. After unsuccessful negotiations with AJ Foyt Racing, he signed early in 1996 for Team Menard as a last-minute addition for the abridged 3-race initial season. In his IndyCar debut at Walt Disney World Speedway, Tony led 37 laps and finished a close second to fellow rookie Buzz Calkins. He is eager to improve his IRL standing in the 1996 and 1997 season, but he often struggled to finish. He tried severally in different races, but each time he would come in second or wouldn't even win sometimes. Still, he got his first career win at Pikes Peak, where he led all but 7 laps of a 200-lap race and became the leading contender for the series championship. At this race, a bad slump knocked leader Davey Hamilton out of first place. Tony won enough to beat Hamilton for the IRL title. He went on to finish other midget events with several ranks in 1997 and 1998. These earned him national points and Copper Classics in both years. Between his time in USAC and the IRL, Tony earned the nickname Smoke because he slipped the right rear tire during dirt races and blew his engine often during his 1997 championship run. As he had done the previous years, he went on to race in some events of the Busch Series races in 1998, although this time he was racing for Joe Gibbs, NFL Hall of Fame head coach of the Washington Redskins, who was having major success with Bobby Labonte in the Winston Cup Series. When Tony was able to finish races, He ended in the top 10 and had a third-place finish at Charlotte. Tony's wins and races impressed Gibbs that he was signed to drive most of the Busch schedule in 1998 to accompany a full-time IRL schedule. The double duty did not affect his performance in either series. In the IRL, he won twice and finished third in the championship, but his season was a disappointment as he finished last in the Indy 500 because of an engine failure. Nonetheless, on the Busch side, he finished the race in the top 5 times in 22 starts. He was close to winning his first Busch series, but he was beaten on a last lap pass by Matt Kenseth. On the other hand, Gibbs had enough confidence in Stewart that he was moved up to a Cup ride for the 1999 season. Tony ended his 3-year career as a full-time IRL driver. With a close to IRL, what is Tony's next goal? Let us find out. A new age in NASCAR. The same year, Tony began his NASCAR Cup career with an astonishing bang. During the Gatorade Twin 125s, he battled on the tracks with Dale Earnhardt, with courageous racing moves in the last laps when Dale was leading. This impressed the crowd and Dale himself. It also qualified his number, 20 Pontiacs sponsored by the Home Depot for the Daytona 500. Dale won the race, but Tony left many shocked and impressed by his prowess, which went neck to neck with a legendary racer like Dale. Throughout his rookie season, he continued to impress people with every performance. He may not come first in the race, but he always has several wins with more fans and admirers. Later in 2000, he began having bad press due to his constant incidents on the track. He was known to have aggressive racing styles and short-fused. His temperament was not accommodating, especially to people he disliked, but he was a splendid racer. In a race at Watkins Glen, he tangled and crashed with Jeff Gordon, which made him displeased with Jeff on the track. However, in retaliation, Gordon pulled a bump and run on Tony during the 2001 season at Bristol to gain a better finishing position. His plan worked, but Tony retaliated when he spun Gordon out on pit road in a post-race incident. Although Tony was placed on NASCAR probation, he did what he wanted to Gordon. This caused a fierce argument between Tony and Gordon after the race, almost leading to a fight. His short-fused temper has gotten him into trouble, including fines and probation. He was known for having a back-and-forth argument with race officials, breaking some rules on track, or banters with journalists. These earned him a hot temper reputation, and he became known as NASCAR's bad boy. Tony's race career continued for years, bringing championships, winnings, prestige, reputation, and popularity. Then came another accident in 2013, a sprint race at Southern Iowa Speedway, where a lapped car spun in front of him. He drove straight into the car while the car was sideways, causing him to flip multiple times. The impact of this accident cost him both of his tibia and fibula bones in his lower right leg. 2 surgeries were performed on him. His injuries were so bad that it cost him his streak of 521 consecutive Sprint Cup, which dated back to 1999 as it ended. 1 year later, when his injury was about 65% healed, he ran the Sprint Unlimited, but had another crash where 9 cars collided, including his. Although he was carried off the track, he was able to exit his car by himself without any pain. His leg wasn't affected. That same year, he returned to sprint car racing in his number 14 sprint car, the very same car that broke his leg. Tony's love for sprint racing was too immersive to leave even after some broken bones. With his past injuries, he was criticized for not having the same prowess and agility he once had, but he silenced his critics by dominating once again and winning a sprint car race at Tri-City Motor Speedway. This comeback was surprising, yet fulfilling, as he didn't disappoint his fans who awaited his return. 2 years later, Tony injured his back while riding a dune buggy outside San Diego. Later, it was announced that he suffered a burst fracture in his lumbar vertebra, which prevented him from competing in the then-upcoming Daytona 500. After his treatments, he returned to racing but could never finish a race. As advised by his doctor, he was not allowed to complete a race, so he often switched with his teammates. During another race, he was involved in a controversy, where he raced against his former teammate Ryan Newman for 10th place. He wrecked Newman in the 3rd turn, causing a 5-car pileup, which ended Newman's chase chances. His bid for a fourth title ended due to his poor finishes, which caused him to be eliminated from the first round of the chase. However, Tony wrapped up his 18-year career in Cup competition, where he finished in 22nd at the 2016 Ford EcoBoost 400, where he was 2 laps down. Later, he was inducted into the USAC Hall of Fame for his sterling USAC career. Along with an astonishing racing career, he owns a motorsport team called TriStar Motorsports. Tony Stewart Foundation was also owned by him to donate funds to help care for chronically ill children and drivers who were injured in motorsports activities. Due to the dangers surrounding motorsports, a lot of drivers and racers end up with illnesses and injuries that impair their lives. The foundation helps these ex-racers get their lives back as best as possible. Tony married his wife, Leah Pruitt, an American semi-retired drag racer, on November 21, 2021 in Mexico. Together, they welcomed their son, named Dominic, 3 years later. The couple first bonded during the lockdown through their love and dedication to racing. Tony stated that having a life partner who loves racing and is also a racer was bliss. They could understand and resonate with each other. With Tony's bad reputation for being hot-tempered and short-fused, was he ever in a beef with Dale Earnhardt? Share your opinions in the comments. Don't hesitate to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.